it isn't so sad after all. But I think it is a great experience, because only unless when we have traumatic situations are we moved to find solutions for them. And everything went on serene, I don't think we learn as much. So I would like to have someone come up, and a young man, please. Because I have women around so much, I need men around me to create that polarity. I think there was offered the other day someone who had a situation. I want a large one. There were 4 or 5 situations that wanted to be solved. Yes.
The husband had died, the widow remarried, and the husband is returning to visit the two.
Okay. That case number 1. Husband died. We call him A. Just, the husband died. So the husband is A. Yeah. Wife. What happened? What did the husband die of? An accident or a normal?
An accident took place early in his life, a head injury, and because of this he was somewhat incapacitated in that he was never able to finish anything that he started. This was an obstacle throughout his entire lifetime, and because of this felt very much being a failure. It was not commonly understood that it was the result of an injury in his younger period, this was help, or that this had happened the way it did, and possibly as a result of the remorse of his failure, these visits are now being made.
How long was he incapacitated?
Well, he was about 55 when he died, and the injury happened during a sport period when he was possibly in his late teens or early 20s.
Age 18 or 20. When
This
he,
would be a reasonable guess.
yeah, 18 or 20. Accident occurred.
That's right.
Which incapacitated.
Head injury.
Head injury. Okay. How old was he by this time when he passed on?
55.
Oh, we can put him up there, 55, parentheses, and died, after died. Yeah, 57. Age of his wife now?
She is now 59.
Okay, 59. And under wife, remarried, right? Husband at the present time?
The age of the husband at the present time?
No, status, physical status.
He has only one leg. He has one leg amputated.
No, husband number 2. Any children?
Not any that are involved in this. She had family from the first marriage, and he has a family.
Okay. Now, what is the situation in this case?
At the present time, could you point that question a little more?
I said, what is troubling the wife or the present husband?
It's the visitation.
Visitation of husband number 1. Okay. Husband visitation, you can put it on
He
the
returns to tell her that
1A.
he loved her.
one, well, right down below here, 1A.
Returns
To visit wife.
If you have any negative cases come up here, that'll make it easier for everybody to see them and everything.
I beg your pardon?
Have them come up and sit up with you.
Yeah, sure, sure. Who's this? Sit right here. Do you want to say the whole story so that we can, everyone can hear you?
I'll try and explain this in a human interest sort of way. To give you some of the background of the lady first. She was raised not far from Calgary, and first she had trouble with the regular fundamentalist church that she had attended, and then took up with the Unity Church, and there were problems that existed in the family constantly.
What type of problems?
Unresolvable problems in that the husband would, these people were farmers, and he would undertake to do certain kinds of activity to further the well-being of the family, but nothing seemed to succeed. He just did not have the capability of finishing anything he started. He would go into pig ranching and would never finish it, and then he would go into sheep ranching and couldn't finish it. But it just did not become apparent as to what the problem was until later on it came out after his death, because he had died from a tumor on the brain that originated from this injury he received in sports in his younger life. She is a social worker, or was a social worker at the time, and counseling.
Social worker. Down below. Yeah. Yes.
Counseling inmates, and in attempt to rehabilitate them. And naturally this troubled her. Then she married this man who is considerably younger than herself by about 15 years. And all this time she was concerned, as well as he was concerned, about what these problems were all about, because they were still visiting the family along with his return periodically. He would visit both of them. They could both see him as an apparition, and he would tell her how much he still loved her. Whether the new husband took exception or is taking exception to this, I do not know. I have not been able to ascertain. But he is somewhat psychic, very sensitive. He has an Amerindian or an American Indian background. I think he's half Indian and half French. And extremely sensitive to psychic energies. I have worked with these people, both of them in trance state, and some of this has come out as a result of working with them.
What type of patients did she have? Social worker for inmates?
Yes, inmates, incarcerated
Inmates.
people.
Where at?
Pardon?
Where at?
This is in Alberta,
Oh, you know.
yes. Not far from
Is that-
Calgary,
Understand.
yes.
Are these criminals?
These people? No.
No, just patients.
Now, who are you talking about?
The social worker works with inmates.
Yes, she works with, or she has been working with inmates. She no longer works with them. She was a social worker at a home for rehabilitation
I see.
of these people.
Okay. Can I get any feedback on this? What suggestions would you make if you were looking at a case like this? Any suggestions? We were going to put that on the board. Yes.
How long did her husband die when she remarried? And was the man she remarried one of her patients or one of the people she worked with?
One of the inmates, yes. Rehabilitated inmate. Mm-hmm. About 4 years.
Rehabilitated from what?
From his former method of approach to life.
Was the visitation after the marriage or before the marriage?
To her, I believe it was before, to two of them after.
The spirit of the husband who has gone and returning in such a way is in need of being rescued because he is a wandering soul at this time.
That is true. He's earthbound, so naturally needs to be released. That's in this case. However, when we look at this, the influence of her work, she's a social worker and she is exposed to many vibrations of other inmates or other people other than her husband. Yes.
Would you say that she might be having a great deal of guilt, not thinking too highly of herself, and that's the reason why she married the men who were handicapped, and maybe it might be due to all other emotional causes that here she has to take on handicapped men, even who work alone, shows.
The questions, the party suggests that it's a possibility, maybe it could be her guilt. Well, it's possible, and yet there's the other possibility that she truly could have been in love with the person, because I have in one of my classes that there had been someone that had worked closely with the penal group and as a worker similar to this. And finally that person became so involved in the case that she fell in love with the inmate. And this is a very serious case. I think it's one of the cases that's one of the well-known cases in American courts. So I would like to see how it works out. But that may be the possibility. So as we look at any other suggestions, yes.
Well, first of all, there was asked if there were children. Did she and the first husband have children? Because I feel a very strong pull there, especially if they're adult children. Two mothers to this case. Number one, mother married a younger man. Number two, children expecting an inheritance will probably not get it because the man is so much younger that when she passes over, he will most likely get it. And I feel that even though there's appearance on the outside that everything's all right, it may not be, and there may be mumblings going on. What would Daddy think of this? I wonder how Father's approach would he want this criminal to have, and what was the original husband's idea about her work as a social worker with the criminal element. So there could be mumblings.
How long did she work as a social worker?
That's true.
Because he might
How long did she work as a social worker? That's important.
3 years.
Oh, just put down 3 years. Yes.
You mentioned that they were Methodist, or she was a Methodist, and went to Unity. And
Not a Methodist.
No.
I said fundamentalist.
fundamentalist, and
Yes.
she went to Unity.
Yes, because she felt very lost in the
Is
fundamentalist.
she still in Unity?
No, she's with the Morrnah Research.
Well, in Unity, they give to keep this simple, they give a marvelous basic foundation on divine love. The man has come back to tell her that he loves her, and he wants a release from her, for her to tell him that she loves him too. So she's to work with the divine aspect of love and talk to him until he does leave. It's that simple. Whether she tells him that she loves him or not, but she feels it. Oftentimes, these spirits do not hear you or cannot hear you, but can feel the vibration of love. She's got to work with that divine vibration, and she will release him to go on where he's supposed to go.
Could
Is
you
that simple?
repeat that again so that I don't foul up in understanding what you're saying?
Well, you mentioned she was into Unity, and for her to be into Unity and to go into Puna means that she really has a marvelous foundation, but she doesn't understand how to release him. And she must release him because he wants to hear that she loves him too. He keeps telling her, does he not, that he loves her.
Mind you, we have been through this.
Has she felt, or has she given this divine love through the feeling rather than just a lip service?
She feels that the position is such that he's returning because of all his failures in the past and asking for forgiveness, and she has more and more
Guilt.
tried to assure him that everything was okay.
But work with that vibration of divine love, and it handles everything.
She knows this.
But she must not be working with it.
Well,
May I interject something?
Yes,
They lived in that house over 8 years, is that right, on the farm?
that's right. House.
Where had she been imprisoned in the earlier part of her life?
she hasn't been in prison.
What type of childhood upbringing?
She was raised on a farm, attended school in a normal way, attended Sunday school in a normal way, taught Sunday school.
Home.
Very interested in unity with all the affirmations. She has dwelt on this at length with me, talking about the divine love that you speak. Seems to be a very natural thing for her to know about it. And
How about the prison of the fundamentalist religion? Because it is a prison.
Property.
How long was
Former
felt-
owners.
She had never felt that she
Property,
was a
former
part of.
owners.
How long was she, though, teaching and working with it, or how long was she raising?
Oh, I would say until just prior to her to 40 years of age.
Well, that's a long time.
Mhm.
That is a prison.
Yes.
I had a unit minister explain to me one time where a fellow was a hard-lying narcotic. And she gave him an affirmation and said, now you write this down 8,000 times and eliminate your problem. Well, Catherine Ponder has got an affirmation that would apply to this. It says, within and without I forgive. Things past, things present, things future I forgive. I forgive everything and everybody who can possibly need forgiveness of the past or the present. I am free and you are free too. All things are cleared up between us now and forever. With emotion in this affirmation. Now, a lot of times unity is relaxed, but with enthusiasm, with this affirmation, she could release this thought.
Is there a possibility that he's failing at this too? And that all he
May I go back to this? Are you suggesting that I should have her write this out 8,000 times?
Whatever you feel would be necessary.
Well, no, I have no feeling on this right now.
Well, I'll guarantee if you write it 8,000 times.
I'm wondering if you're suggesting that this is what your recommendation, that I should have her write it out 8,000 times.
Morrnah, do you have a question back here?
way back.
Yes. Am I mistaken in thinking that they've lived on this place a long time,
Well,
on this farm? Just, I'm trying to tie myself.
I think they were married in their early, middle 20s and lived there and raised the family on this farm.
Okay, more than 8 years though.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I think the man's problem is that he is not in love with his wife, and he hasn't really been sincerely for some time. That's an excuse. I think what his problem is, he wants to get back on the farm, he wants to work the farm, and I think he wants to be there because he loves the land and he wants to finish his projects. So,
Love of the land.
I think the problem might be most appropriately solved by approaching it through that direction.
But now, will you enlarge on that a little more as to approaching it in that direction?
He's not coming back to his wife, he's coming back to his land and his buildings and his farm.
So, what do we do with it?
Okay. Now, that's what he has to be released from, but he's the one that has to change his mind, you see.
He wants to complete one project at least.
Right.
Terry.
There might be earthbound spirits on their land.
That's right.
There
Earthbound,
are
earthbound spirits.
There are spirits, yes.
The place where she worked with the inmates, she might have brought them
That's
home
true.
with her, or they're still there waiting to be released also.
Yes, there are other spirits around, visitations from other spirits, not necessarily tied in with the visit of others.
Also earthbound deceased inmates.
The dogs. The dogs have. The dogs have been aware of these other entities being around.
Within the house.
Pardon?
Always within the house.
No, even his visits are not always within the house. He will come and visit the yard.
I get the feeling that she needs to square up her relationship with him. It's quite possible.
Correct, that's number one.
She was not very nice to him during his lifetime and probably blamed him a great deal for his failures and for the fact that she wasn't getting what she
Square
wanted
herself
This is
her
correct.
husband.
This is
Square
correct.
herself with her husband.
is ask forgiveness in addition to perhaps other things.
I think she has done it, but as to whether it has been done properly is a question.
Done it enough with a whole heart and soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's love and hate that attract.
Okay. Love and hate, it attracts. Yeah, under her.
What does he feel about the new husband?
Pardon?
What does he think about the new husband when he visits? What does he say to him?
I've had no word on that. It's just that he returns and assures them that he still loves her. Those are the facts.
His failures that he had, he should maybe she should cleanse those. The people involved with his pig farming and his sheep farming, and if they cleared up his failures, maybe he could be released.
Okay.
And also his things. His things are in the house with this new person. Maybe he's upset because the new person uses his things, and if they cut the cords from his things and him, he could go too.
But remember, he said, I love you. He wants to hear it back divinely, wants to feel the vibration. You know, and an emotional body, so she could communicate
Personal belongings.
through the emotional body.
Yes.
I feel that being that he is the problem, probably a lot of the other problems got to this point. He's saying what he needs to hear most, and he's saying that I love you, I think he needs to hear that from her. If she didn't treat him all that well, I don't know. Can't say. I get the feeling that he needs to hear that from her. Because he's saying what he needs to hear most.
I think that
That's his.
she has said this, but I love you comes very easily from this woman.
Yeah, well, it has to be felt, it has to be, like people say, it has to be done with sincere love, it has to come from the heart. Some people don't know we can
I had this happen with us one time, and we found that the only thing that really was the matter was that he was held earthbound by those who was near to him before. And having been held earthbound, he couldn't get away. People don't necessarily want to stay earthbound once they decease. As a result, if they are so endowed with the vision that they can see him, they can also see other entities that can take him, show him the way to where he is released and can progress. If she and her husband can see him, they can also call upon these other spirits to show him the way to freedom.
Yes, I think that there is a very strong karmic influence here, very strong.
Very true. That's the first time someone mentioned the karmic ties.
Yes,
Karmic ties.
Not only with this gentleman, but I think with all three of them. And it seems to me that he has to be really educated in order to let him understand why he is back, why he's still trying to communicate with her, and he has to be told that as long as he is earthbound, he will always be unhappy. And his duty, the only way he can make any progress at this present time is after being educated, is to go on into the higher realms and to be willing to learn so that he will not have to come back again. But it's it seems like this is a very complicated triangle, much deeper than all of us quite understand.
Who will undertake to educate him?
Maybe he doesn't even know that he's dead.
Yeah, there's somebody, there are people who can really ask him to come right there. I mean, just ask him to come. And while he's there, they just talk to him. Tell him that as long as he's here, he's unhappy. Now, if you want to make the corrections, if you want to be free, here's what you have to do. And in other words, teach him what he didn't accomplish here, he should be doing over there. And trying also to find out what is the cause of this accident that really stopped him from making the success that he wanted.
Okay.
It seems to me, she's a social worker, she's playing the healing role, he's a continual failure, and that process of continually failing ensured her attention to him. The fact that he died in the process of his continual failures is of minimal importance to her relationship to him. The fact that she continually experiences his return indicates her need for his failure. Now, I doubt very much that a person who continually displays that continual need for the failure of their patients or clients is much of a healer or could be much of a social worker. And I would want to examine her relationship to her current husband and her claim that her second husband has been rehabilitated, in quotes. I would look into that relationship to see whether or not that person is beginning to set up the pathological recycling of failures in
Check
order to
validity
lead
of relationship.
the process of her new relationship. And you may even find it in other parts of the life pattern. she's experiencing it. I don't know what how the second husband experiences these psychic visitations. I would suspect that causation will be somewhat different due to his different background. He's not getting that in the same fashion. There's got to be probably a different slant on that. That would validate my hypothesis.
You're saying then that she has something to do with bringing him back?
No, certainly.
Yes, I
it's her
do.
need. He certainly wouldn't come if she didn't need him.
I agree, yes.
I think it's her guilt, possibly aided by the children, her thoughts of her, maybe they make her feel guilty in addition to her own guilt. And it's this guilt specifically which is drawing him back, and him telling her, I love you, is his reassurance of her. He's trying to reassure her, I love you anyway, regardless of whether the way you treated me, and don't feel guilty possibly. And for her to just drop the guilt, that would be the key to freeing him.
That had been an earlier problem, but it's not a problem now.
Have we established that she really wants to help him?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And she wants to help herself and her new husband,
All
too.
right, that she can do it very simply, this way. In view of the fact that we've established the karmic ties, everybody, when they leave, face the karmic board. All she has to do is spiritually face the karmic board with him, and she will show an act of unselfish love for him to release him before the karmic board by offering whatever light the board will accept from her for him. And it solves all the answers. Divine love.
Yes.
I don't believe she wants to do that. And I think that it's up to us, a stranger, someone else, to release this man because she has no desire to do that.
Suggest us to release the man.
She will bring herself out of it once he leaves.
Very good.
Very good. She is a very strong-willed person, and the conscious mind plays a very important role in her life. And for her to release it, for her to release him unconsciously would be extremely difficult.
It has to take somebody else.
Yes.
Thank you. Her mental blocks. Mental blocks.
If we drink.
Early life.
Up and down.
Grandparents and ancestors.
Whether the marriage was the basis of love was brought up as a question during the period of discussion. They came through a very, very difficult period because they were married during the Depression years, and because of that, they had economic problems, and this contributed to the understanding of each other. I guess there was blame back and forth. She was tied down to raising, was it three children, dear? Four children.
Were they normal?
Normal, yes.
May I say that if he isn't released, that he will not release after she or the husband deceases, but that he will then go to the children.
Right.
And so it is necessary that he be released now to keep him from going to the children.
Correct.
Because the children are the next ones in line. And time has nothing to do with the earthbound entity.
I agree, yes.
Have there been any karmic readings on their past lives together?
Yes, there has.
And what does that show?
I have listened to tapes on this from the Evergreens in Toronto, and I wasn't able to make too much of it.
Yes.
I had experienced something like this after my husband died. He died of cancer in 72, and I was relieved that he was released. I married him 10 years after his former wife had created a situation resulting in a divorce which she didn't want. And she's a person who believes you should communicate with the dead and bring them back. And a month after he died, I had no energy. All of a sudden, I was absolutely depleted. I could barely move. And there was a woman in Carmel who was very psychic. And I called her and told her what was happening. And she told me later that my husband must have been right there when I telephoned, because he appeared to her in her bathroom right after that. And he didn't know where he was. And she called upon her guides to release him. And by the next 2 days later, I had no more trouble.
That is. Yeah.
I'd like to say the mere fact that she says that she wants to help him or release him doesn't necessarily mean so. Even though, although she may say so consciously, but on the lower level, subconsciously, she still wants him around, she still wants to suffer, she still wants to have all these problems, and it appeared that way the mere fact that she took to marry another man in a handicapped situation.
I might like to agree with you because of the fact that many times in situations like this, the attachment, unbeknownst to the person, becomes so strong that it keeps the entity earthbound, either out of love or hate, or probably unbeknownst to them. So I know we can get on and on and on in this case, but I think we have about 4 or 5 cases to go. I would really like to bring this to a close and work on this as it presents itself. Husband died 55, age 18, had an accident. Now, I don't know why, but I get that that person had a karmic problem from the beginning because his own family problems stems from his family. I think we all go through that. That it has, you have to trace it back to your ancestors or grandparents or something. But as we come down in this end here, the husband number 2, we don't have too much about that. Number 1, he returns to visit his wife to tell her he loves her. There is a possibility there has been guilt all during the life that he lived with her. Number 1 is the fact that he's incapacitated. He feels that the wife is far superior than he is as far as status is concerned. So he feels that incapacitation does not fulfill his role as a husband. So I think that guilt, it just made it worse for him. So then we come down to the point that, see, I say guilt. And someone suggested the love of the land. Now, when I say guilt, guilt is so powerful that it may be so little, and yet it stays within your computer for so long, it's hard to pull it out. Because this feeling of guilt attracts other guilts in his lifetime and past lives, which weighs it down. The love of the land, I wonder whether he did love the land. Because if he worked so hard, and he never made a success of himself, gives me the idea that he did not have self-confidence because he shifts from pillar to post. He never stuck to one thing. There was no stick-to-itiveness in his character or attitude. And I think he felt that his wife, being a social worker, this happens in life today. We have actors and actresses are more popular than their husbands. So the husband is Mrs. Actress. You know, they are in a menial and low position. And it hurts the man because the man should be the head of the household. So that puts him in a subordinate position. And then we come down to the point that he needs to clear up his, failures. Well, this is where, in bringing a closer introspection or taking into consideration or stock exactly where he's at. And probably at that time, he's at the low rung of the ladder. Depression, of course, contributes to his problem. Personal belongings, someone suggested. I say personal belongings after he died. There is that unhipili, or attachment, that is hanging on to the objects. That is one of the things that you need to cleanse when anyone passes on. It's very, very important because he attaches himself. This is why when you're giving out clothing, furniture to Goodwill or anyone, please demagnetize them and release the attachment of the person or spirit onto the object. So, still hanging around, so he's attached. Maybe he has his plow that he's attached to, or his horse, or whatever it is that he has, personal clothing. So he's a part of it. It's in his home. So he's also looking for validation, looking for help to free himself from karmic ties. Now, it's a possibility he might have done something to his wife in previous lives. There's that possibility to have been put in this precarious position. And children and families. When we say children, they are our first link. Now the children, grandparents, ancestors are very important. So the hang-ups of our ancestors become our hang-ups until we can cut the aka cord from it and resolve it. So the children will be affected if we do not help, as a gentleman said, help to release this man. Now, as far as the wife, she remarried. She's a social worker. Now, compare her position with the farmer that the husband is. Now, she works in rehabilitation and exposed to different types of vibration, so naturally she's bombarded and affected by them. She brings them home, affects the husband, who possibly is much more sensitive. Now, anyone who does not stick to one thing and flits from pillar to post naturally is susceptible to these vibrations from the outer, negative. Now, this is really difficult job to do. If you don't know, you become a victim of circumstances, or your family does. So, and having been in it for so long, it makes it that much harder. Then we come to the property where the farm is. Who owned the property before and before all the way back? Now you're getting the vibration of the former owners and transferred down to the other. What kind of a personalities did they have? Was somebody murdered, killed, committed suicide on that property? So you come into those hang-ups too, possibilities. Then there are earthbound spirits possibly on the property, in the house, on the equipment that they have. If they leased some of the equipment, maybe somebody who owned the equipment had died and has an attachment on those things. Now, now we look at the cases that she has handled. Deceased inmates who are also earthbound. So there's a lot of things on her side that could possibly affect him. She wants to square herself with her husband. As someone suggested, love and hate possibly could be there. Well, that's kind of hard because I think at many times in our lives we've had both emotions in all of us. But I think with her, possibly she really doesn't know how to release or let go. To let go. I don't think I think she means well, but the idea of hanging on, the feeling, is she in mourning? Does she feel sorry that he died?
Not at this time.
No, at the time of decease.
I think so.
So, now we're talking about checking the validity of her relationship with her husband. How valid was it? See, you're the judge. You're going to weigh all this. How valid was her relationship with him? Did she look down on her with disdain? There are many times they do. we find if the wife or husband has a higher position, it's really difficult for the other mate to match the other mate. So the other mate gets more and more lost in the shuffle as they go on through life. So there's a possibility. To me, that's a very strong possibility. So her mental block, she has many mental blocks. And I would like to look a little deeper into her earlier life and earlier beginning and her grandparents and ancestors. So this is a rough idea of what we're working with. It can go on and on and on and on, but we do not have time. So the suggestion is it behooves us at this time to release the man. Okay, the only possible way that I could suggest would be through the process of Ho'oponopono. The gentleman had spoken about Catherine Ponder's certain types of affirmation. I'm very familiar with that, and many other forms of affirmations, suggestions of love. But how many of us do know what love is? How can you tell someone else, now let's see, you should express love. What is love? I may be able to know what love is. You don't know how I feel love is. Maybe in her interpretation, it differs with what you're trying to express or expect to achieve. But I feel that she is very strong because her subconscious mind is very stubborn. I could see that. Stubborn, confused, but there is a lot of arrogance in it. Because this is the way I feel. So in spite of what the characters present themselves, I feel it behooves us to work first with the husband and wife, number one and number two. Wife and the husband. So we have to work one to the other, and the wife and the husband, husband and wife. And then both with the children. Did they have children on both sides? Or they just had children of their own?
Children of their own. No,
None
they
with
haven't
former
any
marriage.
children of their own. No.
Each
from the previous marriage.
Well, then you have to have former wife and former husband. See, this is really, I mean, it keeps going on, and until you can go into these finite points, you're going to find you're going to leave something out dangling that you have not answered or tried to cover. Now, husband and children, because the children belong to the former marriages. Oh, okay. All right. And these are important because the children have a tie. When we're looking at the children, they are the issues from the parents, and their link is there. So you must take care of all of them, okay? Possible grandchildren? No grandchildren?
Yes.
Grandchildren, okay.
How about his parents and her parents?
Yeah, I think...
They could have both been derogatory in their relationships with him for being inadequate.
Well, yeah, that's why we say earlier life, parents and ancestors. Don't forget the ancestors, because we always forget that ancestors are important. They're very important. Yes.
But doing the Ho'oponopono and releasing the husband, will that connect the Unikili back with the Uhani and the Amakua?
The question comes up that by doing Ho'oponopono, will that reconnect the Uhani and the Amakua? The process that we're going to do is to pull out of the computer of all these people connected to the man with them. By pulling that, the traumatic situation in their memory bank will be erased. And that's all we're interested in achieving. And by so doing, we're able to release him to where he needs to go. Is that clear?